What if I told you that the secret to being great at what you do has absolutely nothing to do with your audience and everything to do with you when no one is watching? There's a story about a man whose hidden habit baffled everyone around him for decades. His colleagues laughed at him. His friends thought he was eccentric. But the moment the world finally got a chance to see him, truly see him, everything made perfect sense. Stay with me until the end of this story, because the lesson hiding inside, it might just change the way you show up every single day of your life. For over 40 years, Harold Bennett was one of the most beloved radio voices in the country. Millions of Americans woke up to his voice every single morning, steady, warm, and unmistakably his. People knew him without ever having seen him. And that, as it turns out, was exactly the point. Harold had a habit that became something of a running joke among his colleagues at the station. Every single time he sat down in front of that microphone, whether it was a 5-minute news brief or a 3-hour live broadcast, he showed up in a full suit, a pressed dress shirt, and a perfectly knotted tie. Every time, without exception. His coworkers used to tease him about it constantly. "Harold," they'd say, laughing, "you're on radio. Nobody can see you, man. Why do you do this to yourself?" And Harold would just smile, wave them off, and take his seat at the mic without missing a beat. But here is where the story takes an unexpected turn. After more than 4 decades behind the microphone, Harold was invited to appear on television for the very first time. A major network was producing a special tribute to the legends of American radio, people who had shaped the sound of a nation. For millions of listeners, this would be the first time they would ever put a face to the voice they had grown up loving. It was a big deal, and Harold knew it. On the day of the taping, the director noticed that Harold arrived about 10 minutes later than usual, which, for a man known for his clockwork punctuality, was practically unheard of. After the initial greetings, the director gently pulled him aside and asked, "Harold, I'm not worried. 10 minutes is nothing, but I have to ask. You're never late. What happened today?" Harold straightened his jacket, cleared his throat, and gave a quiet, almost embarrassed smile. "Well," he said, "this morning, when I was getting dressed, I realized I was out of new socks. And I know that sounds ridiculous, but today is the first time in my entire career that people are actually going to see me. Not just hear me, see me. And I thought to myself, being clean isn't enough today. I need to be completely right. So I had to make a stop at the store." The director stared at him for a moment, then chuckled softly. "Harold, you could have come in without any socks at all. We're shooting you from the waist up. Nobody would have ever known." Harold nodded slowly, as if he had expected that exact response. Then he said something that stopped the director cold. "I understand that," Harold replied. "But here's the thing. In order for me to be flawless on camera or on air, I have to feel flawless on the inside. All the way through. From the shirt closest to my skin to the pen in my breast pocket. The moment I know there's something off, a worn-out shoe, a wrinkled collar, a sock with a hole in it, I'm no longer at my best. And the audience always feels that. They may not know why, but they feel it." The director didn't laugh. He didn't say a word. He just stood there and thought about that for a long, quiet moment. Here's the truth that Harold understood, and that most people never figure out. Excellence is not a performance. It is a practice. It is something you build quietly, in private, in the small decisions nobody ever sees. Harold didn't dress well because he wanted to impress anyone. He dressed well because he had made a promise to himself about the kind of man he was going to be every single time he showed up for his work. And that internal standard, that invisible commitment, is exactly what people heard in his voice for 4 decades. Even when they couldn't explain why. In a world that increasingly rewards shortcuts, hacks, and the appearance of effort, The most powerful thing you can do is decide to be genuinely whole. Not just on the surface, not just in the parts that show, all the way down. Because your audience, whether it's one person or 10 million, will always feel the difference between someone who is performing excellence and someone who is living it. So here's the question I want to leave you with today. What are the socks in your own life? What are the small, invisible standards you hold yourself to? Not because anyone is watching, but because of who you have decided to be. Think about that. Sit with it. And if this story moved you, if it made you think, if it reminded you of something important you already knew deep down, I would be genuinely honored if you took a moment to share your thoughts in the comments below. Tell me what came to mind. Tell me what your version of the socks is. Your words, your reflections, they are not just valuable to me. They are the reason I keep making this content, and they may be exactly what someone else needs to read today.